Alright, hello everyone. It's good to be here. Good to be back. It's been so long, but here I am. And I see that a couple of people already tuning in. That's great. I was actually streaming on Nuno's channel last week, a week ago, where we talked about PHP 8.5. And I want to dive into some practical stuff today here on PHP Annotated. So glad that you're here. It's good to see you all. Say hi in chat. Let me know if that works as well. And while I'm waiting for that, just wanted to tell you I went to SymphonyCon last week, and it was really great, folks. It was I went 2 years ago in Brussels, and I kind of got like a not so good vibes from it. I don't know, had some weird conversations with people, but this time it was just awesome. It was great. I had so much fun and met so many people. It was amazing. I did an unconf talk as well, which was really nice. I tried to submit to SymphonyCon also, but I didn't get accepted. But that's fine. That's fine. I'll just organize my own conference next year, you know. Yeah, by the way, PHPverse is coming back as well, and it's coming back on this channel. That's still 6 months out, of course, but I just heard the news 2 weeks ago, and I'm really excited about that. It's gonna be better than last year, so already start to spread the word if you want to be able to join there. It's going to be, I'm so looking forward to it, honestly. So yeah, SymphonyCon, I got back. Oh, look at this, the Franken PHP elephant. Isn't it great? I don't know how many people already got these. I think they were at API Con a couple months ago. As far as I know, they don't sell these. So this is like such a great elephant. And then somehow I also got like 2 other elephants from Heroku, an old one, which I traded for a PHP Summer Lego elephant. And then the Silius one, which was created by some kind of Kickstarter thing, I think. So 3 more elephants. I'm happy with that. So yeah. By the way, are there any people who are collecting elephants as well? I don't have such a big collection, to be honest. Only 16. I'm on 16 now, but I know my colleague Roman. Roman, if you're watching, don't forget you're sending me 2 other ones. He was actually supposed to bring them to SymphonyCon last week, but yeah, I forgot. So I'll be at 18 elephants. That's not like super much, right? But I'm happy with what I have. Actually, if I were to have more, I would need to find some new places to store them, because they're right over there with my plants, and and it's full basically. But yeah, hey Adrian, Samuel, Lakshman, Yaksman, I don't know. Hello, and Pix2Weeks as well from Spain. Good to see you. Glad you're here. It's early morning, but I have some things to do in the afternoon, and I just as of Friday, I think I was like, I want to stream again. It's time. It's been a while. I need to get into this. Hello, Miss Bahan, sorry, something like that. So let's see what's the plan today. I actually have some notes here. I came prepared. So yeah, my Symfony recap. I think I shared enough from Symfony, right? It was really nice. I didn't attend any talks. You know, I never attend talks at conferences. Here's why. I just enjoy talking to people much more than I enjoy going to talks. I also feel that, you know, talks gets recorded, so you can always watch them afterwards at 2x speed. So I don't know, saves more time and gives me more time at conference to actually interact with people, which I really like. 100 elephants, Daan van den Berg, Belgian, I suppose. No, it's and you're asking if it's a lot or not. No, I'm not saying it's a lot. It's quite a small collection. That's what I was saying. Hello from France as well, from Asenaralalar, something like that. So yeah, I enjoy talking to people. We were at the PHP Storm booth, of course, and we had a lot of fun. Great conversations with people. Super interesting to see how we had this we had this demo prepared with like AI prompting. Super interesting to see how different people use AI. That was like, yeah, super insightful, and it was really nice. So, okay, I think we're all here now. Great to see you all, folks. Leave a hi or wave in chat if you haven't done so already. It's always great to see where people come from. And oh, hello from Poland here. Unfortunately, need to drop off and go to daily meeting. Yeah, have fun. Maybe you can come back after the daily meeting. I'll probably stream for an hour and a half, something like that. But yeah, we'll see. So yeah, also leave a like, by the way, if you're still here, just leave a like before you go. That helps out. So folks, PHP 8.5 was released a week ago, something like that. I did a live stream with Nuno on his channel. It was really nice, really cool vibes. And actually, I'm going to do some more live streaming with Nuno in the near future. Actually, on Friday is the first one, where we want to try to make this into a regular thing. I'm just bumping the elephants here. Try to make it into a regular thing. It was really nice, Nuno and me together. He is definitely much more into the live streaming vibe than I am. So yeah, listening in the background while coding in Cake, sadly. But good morning from Denmark. Hello, Kevin. I'm glad you're here. And yeah, for sure, listen in the background. That's fine as well. I hope you're doing okay with Cake. I don't know. Is Cake I always got the impression that Cake is not such an old framework thing. But yeah, I'm not sure actually. I always like going through a framework's website, you know, just the homepage, and I want to get an impression of what it's like using this framework just from the first thing you see on the homepage, which is always like, this doesn't often happen. And now I need to go find the docs, and I actually read through the Cake docs. Well, not the whole Cake docs, but like did a small overview thing when I was designing Tempest for at the very beginning. So yeah. Hey, Lakshman, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but you were trying out PHP 8.5 and really enjoyed the clone with feature. Yeah, let's look into that today, actually. Oh, that's me. Let's see here. But first, I want to talk about something slightly different. Not necessarily PHP 8.5, but well, it is related, of course, and it is this blog post that Joe Watkins posted 2 weeks ago already. And I'm not gonna read through it, but I would suggest you do that after the stream, if possible. Visionary leadership required. In this, Joe talks about the current state of PHP internals, and there are some things in the blog post that I don't really know how to feel about it, because he makes the link to WordPress and how WordPress is worker bee, and I think he's going a little bit too deep into a rabbit hole there, and it's actually what many people didn't appreciate about this post. But even without the worker bee stuff and WordPress, this is a really, really good post where Joe basically says that we're currently with PHP lacking a vision, and a unified vision, that is to say. And, you know, I kind of agree with him. Also, when you look at PHP 8.5, I've been talking about this with Nuno last week as well, but we get features here and there, and it doesn't feel like there is one person or one group that really knows this is where we're going to. And Joe wrote this post, I think, as a reaction to the whole async stuff. Actually, that's externals.io. I don't know if you followed along with this one. It's a really complex RFC. It's longer than Larry's RFC, so you know that means something. Where this person, a really talented programmer, is trying to add async features to PHP, and the vote is it's already done. It was like everyone was voting no, basically. And as far as I understand, they're now going to, this was the 6th iteration of the RFC, they're now going to maybe work on a 7th iteration together with some more people. But what Joe was saying here, as a reaction to all these things happening with async, one person putting so much time and effort into such a huge RFC, and then it just like everyone knew it was failing from the get-go, basically. And Joe says PHP would benefit so much from a clear vision. And there was like a highlight somewhere here, I don't remember which it was anyway. Maybe it was at the very end, actually. Yeah. No, I don't remember. But yeah, that vision, and it's really lacking in PHP. I feel everyone is just doing their own thing, and I wrote about this myself a couple of years ago. And it's still the case. Like it's in my mind, and people disagree with me. That's fine. Interesting enough, most people who disagree with me are part of internals. So yeah, I don't know if there's a correlation there. I think actually there is, but. Designed by committee, like a lot of people all deciding together on where the language is going, it just by definition leads to suboptimal design. And one of a great example with PHP 8.5 is the pipe operator. I think there's so much potential here. And the first time the RFC was proposed, it included partial function application. Let me actually copy over all of this to where am I? To PHP, and we'll come back to this in a second. But I'll make my screen a bit. I'll zoom in a little bit. I guess this is better, right? So let's see. So this is partial function. This is the pipe operator. Let's see. Echo outputs. Yep. And then we can, why is it doing anything? Am I using PHP 8.5? Hang on. No, I'm not. Yeah. Oh, now I am. No. Weird. Hang on. It's just the title. But it should... Okay. Output. Okay. This isn't correct. This is weird. Let me just run it on PHP 8.5 with eval. Oh, okay, it is correct. I probably just made a mistake then, I guess. Anyway, let's debug this in a second. But what I wanted to say is, like, this is the working example. I'm not sure. Oh. Okay. It's early morning, folks. Just give me some slack. My input was empty. Yeah, okay. Hi, Enzo. No, but this is what we currently have, and it's such a great example of making compromise over and over again. I think this was the third iteration of the RFC, and all of this. So first we had this, right, without the brackets. And now the brackets are required. And the reason we need brackets is because short closures with their fat arrow, basically, everything that comes after it until a semicolon is considered a part of the body. And for some reason, they weren't able to parse until the pipe operator as well. I'm not sure how internals works. There's probably a very good reason for that. So they decided on this new syntax. So whenever you want to use a short closure with the pipe operator, you now have to wrap them in brackets, which was only discovered after the RFC was already accepted. So, you know, compromise upon compromise upon compromise, and you eventually end up with something that's honestly, yeah, I think I would still do it like this. Let's see, trim input and then output equals string replace output, and then what's the next one? String replace. Let's actually copy this like so, and then output string to lower. So okay, so yeah, right now this is actually still more convenient to write. Now Larry is working on a new RFC which is called partial function application, which would make it so that we could get rid of these short closures altogether, and instead of calling the function itself, you can do it like this. You add a question mark, and basically it's kind of the same syntax as first class callables, right? This syntax over here doesn't call the function, it creates a reference. Basically what it does is underneath, as far as I understand, is something like this, mixed input, and then call this on input, something like this, right? Is basically what this does. So that's a nice shorthand, right? But you can only do that with, well, you can do it with any function, but you cannot pass any default parameters in there, which is why for functions that need more than one parameter, because your pipe is only ever piping one variable through the whole chain, right? If you need to add context data, like, okay, what do we need to replace things with? You maybe get this new syntax in PHP 8.6, which will take another year, where you can create such a first-class callable style reference to a function, but with some parameters already filled in, and that's going to be solving everything basically. That will make the pipe operator truly usable. The unfortunate thing is this should have just been in the pipe operator, because it makes the current approach very, very unusable in many cases. I find so much potential here, and, you know, compromise upon compromise. It's yeah, kind of unfortunate. One thing I did find maybe a proper use case for the pipe operator was like something like var dump, when you need to dump stuff and don't want to do it like this. Maybe this makes sense. Maybe I'll start doing this instead of like having to wrap it in, maybe some, but yeah, I'll have to see how it'll work. But yeah, until PHP 8.6 the pipe operator is like, well, not really useful in my opinion. So it's so unfortunate. And so Joe is talking, circling back to Joe, is talking how we really need some proper vision, a proper multi-year plan. Where is PHP going? What are the kinds of features we're working on? And you know, when I do my job as a developer advocate at JetBrains, I work with PHP Storm. We do proper planning sessions, right? We have 3 releases a year with PHP Storm, but we actually look forward, and this is what all companies, I feel, are doing. You know, you cannot just see where things are going whenever someone has time to work on something. You need to make some proper plans, and you need to know where your project as a whole is going, what kind of things we want to focus on, what kinds of things we don't want to focus on. And that's exactly the opposite of how PHP is developed. And it's going to be really difficult to change that. There were some people on Reddit getting angry at Joe because he was making a comparison to WordPress, and people just really dislike WordPress. But even without the whole WordPress stuff, the things that Joe is saying is really relevant. And then some people were afraid, like, yeah, having a benevolent dictator for life, you know, the thing that Python had for many years, and the thing that Laravel has still until this day. So many projects have one person in charge, and you know, it's not just that one person working on the language, but or whatever kind of project it is, but it is someone who guards the vision and the direction, and in some cases it's the person who makes the difficult decisions. And I think that is a much more productive approach to developing whatever kind of project you're working on. So it's really unfortunate, this current state of PHP. I saw, actually, let's see, someone, yeah, this was a post, a tweet by Larry here. I mostly agree, the lack of consistent North Star is a problem. Unfortunately, this is interesting, every attempt Larry or others have made to try and add even a little bit of leadership to that process has run smack into anarchist culture of internals. We couldn't even get a technical committee set up to decide nitpick disputes. I don't know how to create a visionary leadership in a leaderless organization. I've been trying for 20 years, and Larry really has. I think even if I don't agree with everything that Larry says, I think he maybe would be a good candidate to take up that leadership. Of course, Nikita was like the perfect person to do this, but he left PHP right when there might have been some reasons to think that he might get into this leadership position. I don't know if he wanted to do it, but I think he was steering the language already in a way that was pretty good. I don't think this is going to happen with PHP. And I was thinking about this last week. Of course, at SymphonyCon, I was talking to some foundation members as well. And I'm really starting to think if maybe the most productive approach to get some proper leadership. Do you know how before PHP 7, Hack and Hip Hop VM started to gain traction because they offered so much better performance for PHP, and that actually forced PHP to, you know, reiterate and properly invest in some things that were slacking for a long time. And I feel like that this was a time where different people were managing to unify and unite into a common vision because they didn't want Hack to become a replacement for PHP. And maybe that's what we need once again. Maybe we need some big company forking PHP, which will be the motivator for internals to get our stuff together and just, you know, make some tough decisions that I find have to be making. But okay. This is just really interesting. I'm going to write a blog post about it as well in the near future, I think. Just, yeah, it's so interesting. Humans, right? Humans are such interesting creatures when it comes to doing things together. Dan saying here, Nikita moving on to other pastured posts. The triggered the setup of the foundation. No, that's not true, Dan. Actually, Nikita was part of the foundation when it was being created, and I think he's still on the board. And Nikita's decision to leave actually came after the decision for the foundation was already made. I think actually Nikita was one of the driving forces at the very start to make the foundation happen. Of course, maybe Nikita already had plans to leave PHP. I don't know about that, but yeah. And the thing with the foundation, there is so much potential here, but they are still limited to the RFC process as well. Maybe they should just make a fork. I don't know, and just do their thing. I guess their sponsors wouldn't be too happy with that. Another problem with the foundation is that this same culture of PHP internals is just being copied to the foundation, where you have like around 10 internal developers who themselves disagree. So even the foundation cannot come to a unified vision. And that is really interesting. You actually had some RFCs in the past where one foundation member put an RFC to voting and another foundation member voted no on the RFC. And that really makes you think like, okay, what is going on there? Yeah, I think there is so much to fix here. Anyway, that was my little TED talk about, I didn't intend to show that, about PHP. Today I want to do some PHP 8.5 stuff, and I have an example project. Okay, so just 1 second here, but I don't want anyone to panic. Okay, it will be fine, and I want to highlight that this. I hear myself saying the same words as I said 2 years ago, and that kind of didn't work out. So, but I felt really inspired for the last 2 weeks to work on something as just an experimental educational thing, something I like using, and it's a fun project, but it's not anything real. I just want to point it out. But I realize saying that who knows what happens, right? So this is the first time me talking about it in public. We'll see. Okay. But for now, like truly, it is just a cool exercise in modern PHP because I'm using PHP 8.5. Although there aren't many things. But yeah. I want to try to use PHP 8.5. Actually, I have one feature we're going to implement in a second here. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so what I'm working on here is a small a test runner for PHP. And yeah, how should it? Okay, there are a number of features that kind of set it apart. So it's a PHP unit replacement, right? And there, yeah, and it's an interesting thing to say. It's not super complex actually to work out, and I wanted to experiment a little bit and see what I could come up with, and that's exactly what I did. So I want to try to walk you through what it does and some of the things that kind of make it different. And then we'll implement the feature together. Okay, so first things first. You mean pest, right? No, it's not pest. I really tried pest, and Nuno is doing such great work. But there are a couple of things that I want to do different than pest, and maybe I'll talk about it with Nuno Friday during our stream. But yeah. And so what Samuel is saying here, Pest is using PHP unit. Yeah, Pest is a layer on top of PHP unit, which I didn't want to do. I started from scratch, That's something I like doing. I came up with a couple of cool things. I want to show it to you. We'll see. Okay, so actually I have written a couple of points here that kind of sets it apart. So compared to PHP unit, first and foremost, because this is probably something you'll recognize from Pest. But my test cases are still bundled in classes. They don't extend anything. That's kind of the Tempest way of doing things, and I'll come back to that later. So let's see. The test attribute, that's something PHP unit has as well, but I just decided to use this as the only way of marking your tests. And this is using Tempest Discovery underneath. So that was really, really easy to set up. Actually, let me show you test Discovery. So yeah, this is all powered by Tempest, of course. So we'll see whatever method has the test attribute. And if it does, we'll add it, basically. That's it. Of course. There is a lot of things going on behind the scenes there, but it's all powered by Tempest. So a Fluent testing API, just like a chainable testing API. Still figuring this out. There aren't like a huge amount of methods there. Maybe I want to have assert everywhere, just like PHP units. I don't know how I feel about that yet. Maybe you can. Let me zoom in a little bit, but maybe you have an opinion about that as well. Dependency injection support is something, as far as I know, isn't in PHP unit. I'm not sure about Pest, but because our classes don't extend from anything, our test classes, you have autocomplete dependency injection available everywhere. So you can inject dependencies into your constructor. You can inject them directly into your test cases, and that's just auto-wired injected wherever you need them. This supports Tempest's container as well as any PSR11 container, actually. If you want to, for now, if you want to override which container to use, you can just create an initializer, again, which is a Tempest thing. Parallel execution by default, it's always in parallel execution. I find that whenever I start a project, that I don't use parallel execution, and then afterwards, your test suite grows and you feel like, okay, you need parallel execution, and then you need to refactor some stuff because you just hard-coded some things to only work in synchronous execution. So it's just parallel by default, basically. I think we're using 5 processes here, but you can you can define, oh yeah, 8 might be the max. I don't know. There are some calculations going on behind the scenes to evenly distribute tests among processes. I think this is just, it makes a lot of sense for it to be parallel by default. I see no reason to not have parallel testing. Immediate output, of course, you don't really see that because it's still pretty fast. Something I really dislike about PHP units is that, well, let me actually get the Tempest code base here, composer PHP unit. Oof, I probably need to run some, go away. Composer up, come on. So, I mean, in the meanwhile, Enzo is asking, have you thought about databases in parallel execution or not yet? Yes, I'll come back to this in a second. Not yet implemented, but I've thought about it. What was I doing? Okay. So, and I know this is something that can be changed with PHP unit, but whenever a test fails here, of course, it's not going to fail because it's the main branch of Tempest, but you just get an E or an F and you have no clue what's going on. You're waiting until your whole test suite fails. Runs, and then you only get the output of everything that's wrong. Oh yeah, we have terminate, please. And I don't like that. Let's go to here and test fail. And actually, yeah, you don't really see it, of course, because it's so quickly, but it's all coming. I can sleep here. Sleep for actually like this. 10. Well, let's do 2 seconds. And okay, so it's sleeping, but yeah, okay, that also wasn't like a good example. Actually, I need to debug that a little bit because I expected some other tests outputs to come. There might be something blocking there. I don't know. Need to look into that. Parallel should be the default. Yeah. It's good to see that some people agree. Of course, it's not going to fail. Why would it fail? The Tempest test suite, I suppose you're talking about Mr. Not a Psychopath. And so PHP unit has built-in flags to report tests differently. I know. But I forgot which one, and that's my problem as well. Stop on failure is available as well, but then it stops at the first failure. Or stop on error is there, but then it stops on the first error. So what if you want to run your whole test suite, but just get immediate output while it's running? Basically, what I'm getting at is the same way PHP Storm does it. It's indexing. Yeah, let's go back to that in a second. So yeah, it's just something I wanted to be there without thinking about it. And this one, so we're not extending from any base class, which is a very Tempest thing to do. Oh yeah, you can use test docs output. I know, you can configure this, but for me, I want it to be the default. I don't want to think about it because I forget these things. So compose tests however you like. There is no base test class, right? Instead, you're using traits to add whatever functionality you want. And this is Enzo answering your question. Test database is something I still need to implement, but the idea here is that you just plug in whenever you need for your test cases. You can still make a general trait or even some kind of abstract base test class if you want to, and bundle everything together there. That's fine. This is nothing you can do the same thing in PHP unit, to be honest. But it's, again, something that many people still aren't doing because there's this setup method and you want to have it do a couple of things in an abstract test case somewhere. And it's not the default, right? Let me actually now run these. Okay, so this is what I mean with PHP Storm. You just get immediate output, which is what I want. And you can, well, when something fails, like for example over here, you can see why it fails or why it was skipped. So just like that. Okay, so Tempest no config approach. It just works out of the box. I don't know what else there is to say about it. No XML files, no configuration files. Yeah, that's just the way I write code these days. And then this is a fun thing as well. Also completely possible with PHP unit. If you want to override certain parts of the test runner, there are just events you can hook into, which are also discovered by Tempest. So there's no configuration there either. It just works. Okay, so that's the basic idea. There aren't like many mind-blowing features here. Let's say for now it's just an experiment to play around a bit with whatever is in PHP 8.5, right? And so there was this one feature I wanted to look into, and it's actually one of my number one favorite feature of PHP 8.5, one of the two. Let's see, let's go to our provider test. Now, because we also have providers, of course, data providers in PHP units. They currently take just hard-coded arrays or, let's see, a reference to a method which can turn any kind of iterable as well. But what I want to do here is find out if I can do this, which in PHP 8.5 is a thing, although I know you need to make it static. So I wanna explore that a little bit. So this is kind of a meta test because it tests the tests, which can become a bit weird after a while. So, but provider with provide with closure. And let's see if I can implement that, for example, because that would be pretty nice. So function and then return iterable or a generator. That's actually what I want to use it for, generator. I want to do it like this, and then yield whatever 1, 2. Okay. So first things first, let's see, constant expression contains invalid operations. That's because our function needs to declare it static. And that's because these functions that you can now add in attributes, which is a new thing in PHP 8.5, is they don't have access to the class itself because they are resolved. Well, attributes can be resolved without an instance being there of the class, right? There can be an instance, but there doesn't have to be. That's how, because it's being reflected on, right? So you need to make the function static. Again, something that I understand. Whenever static functions, static closures were already a thing in PHP, and it basically means they don't have access to this, right? But at the same time, I also feel like why don't you just do this and just make it static behind the scenes, and if you then call this somewhere, then throw an error. This is just more work for developers basically. Or closure. So that's that. So that works. Let's write our awesome test case here, and let's see what we need to do. Oh yeah, by the way, one downside of, actually let me pin that here, one downside of not having PHP unit is that I need to have a manual run configuration to be able to shortcut run it, which is really annoying. But okay, it is what it is. It's not running. Why not? Yeah, isn't this? This has never happened to me before. Why? Maybe because of this. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Now it's running. It's because there's nothing in provide, I reckon. Okay, so let's go to run test, and let's see. We have our provide here. If it's an array, we loop over our data somewhere, right? Yeah, over here. So we parse our data, provided data, and let's actually add our filter again. And so this is really annoying. Someone can make a plugin that I can just Control-Shift-R to run a test without having to adjust my run configuration. That would be really nice. Let's see. So okay, our data is null, and that's because we are looping over our looping over our provide data. If it's an array, we'll just add it. If it's a string, we'll resolve the method. If is callable provider, we'll just do it like this, I reckon. Hang on. If is callable, we'll do it like this. Provider equals provider, and then call it. And then we can we'll have a fallback, right? And now I destroyed part of my, yeah, okay. So this is actually all I need. Let's see if it works now. It doesn't. That's unfortunate. Let's see. Oh wait, it's still an empty array. So what's over here? Oh, it's not. It's not. Oh, it's string. Of course. Maybe Enzo was already writing that. So if it's callable, we'll call it, and then, well, let's see. Now we still don't have anything. Okay, we get a generator. Ah, yes. Okay, I see, because my isIterable thingy is over here. So if it's a string, we need to have our isIterable check over here. If isIterable provider, we'll do it like this. And like this. Right. If not, I don't know what my I'll just remove that for a second. Okay, I think this, yes, this works. Okay, just cleaned up my thingies here. Why not use a debugger? Oh, I use a debugger, but not for these kinds of simple things, because it doesn't save you time to debug this, I feel. So yeah, that's but yeah, that's so success. Great. Now we could think about also adding dependency injection here. Actually, would that make sense? I do feel like maybe that's getting a little overboard. I'm not sure. Technically, it's totally possible. Let's edit my configuration here. Remove my filter. This is really unfortunate. But okay, everything still works. That's great. Yeah. I know we're calling our thingy over here. We're calling it over here. Actually, no. Is this, if I do it like this, does this work actually in PHP? Yeah, okay. Doesn't really make a difference, of course, but now there's only one place where we call it. And we could potentially add di here as well. I'm not sure. Let's see. He's making his own PHP unit alternative with sane defaults. I wouldn't say it's sane, it's just something that what I would like. Perhaps we could do some kind of auto configuration for tests with the Tempest plugin later on. Is that what you're missing here, or am I confusing things? Yes, no, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Just with let's see, with PHP unit, we have, let's just open a test here. So this is PHP unit. You can press, or I can press Control-Shift-R, and it will just run that test. Basically, it will create a runtime configuration for that specific test. If you do it over here, you can see it's running authenticator tests, the whole class basically, and that's what I think makes sense to add as well. So let's see. Enzo is asking, this would not be valid, right? Provide. Let me actually copy it over. Copy. Would it? Let's try it out. I'm not sure if that's valid or not, because that would make this a lot. Well, let's try that. I'm not sure. Maybe it is now. Provide with static first class callable. Static. It has to be static, of course. That's a given. Let's see if it works. So you said static like this. No, it's not valid. That would actually be a pretty cool addition as well. Think I didn't miss anything, right? No. Okay. Let's see. Would you like it so it runs the whole class, or just a specific test where you're already making the plugin? That's really great. Or just a specific test where your cursor is at the point of pressing the hotkey. So I think it makes most sense that it runs it determines what to run based on the cursor's position. So, but if it's the whole class, then it's fine as well, if that's easier. But so over here, if my cursor is over here, it's in the body of this method, so it should run this whole method. If it's, let's say with all providers always, if it's over here, it should run all tests in the whole class, basically. And if it's, for example, over here, then it should run everything that's within this directory, right? And there already is a filter option available, by the way. Let's see, test, Tempest test, and then before and after. So it now executed basically this test. You can also do it like this. For example, tester test. It's a fuzzy search, right? So tester test is 25, but if you only want the things with is, it will run all methods that start with is. So yeah, that's just yeah. I have a custom extension for VS Code that can run the first test above cursor level or the whole class. I always use it. Yeah, so with PHP unit it's built into. I actually don't know if there's a more generic way to do it without having requiring a plugin. I'm actually not sure. There might be a way in PHP Storm as well, but because like this is the one I use, right? Run context configuration, I think it is. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure, but it is really useful to have, because always having to go in here, edit my run configuration to include a filter, you know, is really annoying. Because I want to be able to just press Command R, right, to run it. So okay, that's good. What I find cool about this is that it's testing itself. So let me show you the tester test, for example. So we're testing this and we wrap it in another test to see if it succeeds. It's sometimes a bit confusing actually, but and over here, for example, this is the thing we test. And we test whether it fails with a specific message. So yeah, add the arrows next to the test. You mean the run? I should just keep this project open, to be honest. Oh yeah, it was like these arrows, right? You can click these as well too. Yeah. So yeah. I think if that was in PHP Storm, it would make a huge improvement. So what else? What else is there to say? Anything else I didn't discuss? Yes. Well, my next step is, very important thing. So PHP unit compatibility or interoperability. No, I'm not going to make a PSR. Imagine that, a testing PSR. But no, right now, and this is something Pest does really well. Pest is built on top of PHP unit, so you can run all your PHP unit tests via Pest, and it will work seamlessly. This doesn't work with PHP unit. It will be super trivial to just also run PHP unit from the same command, right? And let me actually do it like this. And just include the PHP unit tests here. I would have to do some parsing, probably have a custom PHP unit output class thingy, so that I could convert its output to the output I want to show. So that's a possibility, I guess. I tried looking into running the PHP unit tests themselves directly from my test runner. Not gonna do that. Way too complicated, and whenever PHP unit changes something, it would require work on my end. I looked into a converter to convert PHP unit tests to whatever I'm building, which Pest also has, which is really cool. Don't think I will do that. Unless someone, like, if people really like it, then maybe, but it's just a very, very deep rabbit hole, especially because you can do so many things in your test methods. It's I feel not really worth it at this point. So yeah, I think the approach of just running PHP unit as a separate process and then grabbing that output and parsing it to whatever output I am outputting here, I think that would be the best solution, actually, because it would mean that you could have a gradual migration, right? Especially with Tempest. I looked at Tempest. There's no way I'm going to convert all of these tests to my own. That's just so much work. The thing is, with Tempest, and this is something that's gonna get pretty difficult. So these tester helpers, I shown events tester, for example. Tests events, actually. So this is a trait that you can use within your tests. And whenever you use it, let's see over here, you get this events to do, and then do whatever you want, like was dispatched, was not, like extra tester helpers for specific framework components. And this is something we do in Tempest all the time. We have test helpers for a lot of components already. But the thing is, they are made with PHP unit's assert API, which this doesn't have. Again, I could write a compatibility layer so that I don't have to. Let me actually show you one of these Tempest versions. So event bus tester, for example. Now you can see it here already. Like this is it uses the assert API, and the only thing it does underneath is throw an exception, basically, and that's the exception that PHP unit catches and then marks as a failure if something fails. And it works exactly the same way with the tester I have here. As you can see, throw new test has failed, and like that's how everything works. But there are two different exceptions, right? And I just don't see the need for like having some kind of like still using PHP unit asserts for all of that. I don't want to do that. But then it means, like with Tempest, if I want my test runner to integrate with Tempest, then we need two versions of our testers, or we need to have some kind of layer in between that knows we're running PHP unit or we're running Tempest testing, name to be determined, and then use the right assertion library, something like that. I'm not sure about that. What I like about this approach is that it's all within traits. Where's my event, tests event? Like separate traits, and you just pick whatever kind of component you want. And so when we're talking about framework integration, and by the way, this is also possible with PHP unit, but just as far as I know, no one does it. Like for example, Laravel integration, you need Orchestra test bench, right? And it adds this huge class that you have to extend from, as far when I was working on Laravel packages. So with this, you can just have a collection of traits for framework specific traits that you can use whenever you want. And your test runner itself doesn't have to be like, have to insert abstract classes in between to do a lot of hacking. But yeah, I'm not sure about that yet. How we would handle that, because there, like, it would make sense. I really want to run this on the Tempest code base, but then I would either have to convert everything or find some layer in between, and I'm not sure about that yet. Let's see what Enzo has to say. Migration to Tempest testing could be vectorized. Just saying yes. Well, but this is what I looked into, and I'm sure it can. My Rector knowledge is just too limited, I feel, and it felt like there are so many edge cases you need to take into account. So yeah, those are just the framework tests, not even the package specific tests. Psychopath is saying, yeah. Not sure what to do with that. I feel like if I want this to be usable, I'll need to be able to use it within Tempest. So I need all these tester helpers. Not necessarily within the Tempest framework itself, but like for my personal projects that use Tempest, I need these testers. And there are quite a lot of testers. Event bus, database, cache, attachment, console, blah, blah, exception, HTTP router, installer. You know, there are quite a lot of things that are already included. Yeah, so I need to figure that out. Let's continue that discussion on Discord maybe. Or maybe we just drop the whole idea. I don't know. It's a fun experiment, and I like writing these tests, but it's not like I get by with PHP unit as well. Like, this isn't a problem that needs solving. It's mostly just scratching an itch. So yeah, okay. So that's an open question. I'm interested to hear your thoughts about it. If you have them right now, you can leave them in the chat. But if you don't, leave them in Discord. I'm like happy to think about this some more. So Enzo really likes the idea. Why can you name why you like the idea, Enzo? Because I have my reasons, but I listed them here, but I don't know if people find these interesting enough. So yeah. One more question though, maybe the most important of all. Does this thing need a name? For now, it's just Tempest test. It comes with, of course, it's a Tempest console command, so it's discovered automatically wherever you install it, and you have a Tempest console, it will be available. But maybe it does need something, a name. I don't know. Maybe Gust. I didn't come up with that. That's what ChatGPT told me. Like Tempest, Gust. I don't know. Gust sounds a bit like test, but yeah, I'm not convinced of it. I have no other idea. For now, Tempest test is like the command, and the package is called Tempest testing. But maybe I should rename it to Tempest test. I'm not sure. We generally don't really name things in Tempest. Like Tempest view is also just Tempest view. It is singular though, Tempest view, so it should be Tempest test. Yeah, that's what Enzo is saying as well. Yeah. Okay, so I'll let the name just slide. So yeah, anyway, this is my my December project. There is so much things to be done as well, by the way, like besides the individual testers where we need a solution for that, there are a lot more assertions to be added. Oh, I need a tester over here. We don't have like a lot. Asserting whether it fails and succeeds a test, whether something is, which is this is same, or assert same in PHP, assert same. I just decided to call it is, I don't know. And this is one of the reasons, it might be such a small thing, but this is one of the reasons I want a new testing assertion API, because assert equals in PHP unit doesn't do a strict comparison. So I try to mimic that, assert equal to and not equal to have non-strict comparisons. But is same was always such a weird assert same. Such a weird name to me, but that's like really a nitpick. There's nothing wrong with it, of course, but is callable, has count, has not count, contains not, has key, misses key, instance of, not instance of, exception thrown, exception not thrown, and that's basically it. Oh, exception thrown, that's one assertion that's not in PHP unit that I really like. I added to like all my projects. This is where you actually let me show it in Tempest so that you can have a real framework integration test case. The fact that you need to call it test case, I also dislike. Let's see, exception. It's in the, it's over here, right? Exception, assert exception. So with PHP unit, you can do assert exception and expect exception, is it right? Like this, which I really dislike, because then you cannot like do fine-grained control on the exception message. You can do expect exception message, which either needs a full message or you can use regex there. I think that is actually this expect exception matches. You need another method for that, and that's just like lots of steps here. So what I like to do is just assert exception, pass it an exception, then pass it a closure, and if this closure throws, it should throw this one, or an instance like a subclass of this one, basically. And then you can also still have tester an additional assertion method, basically, that does extra tests on the thrown exception, which I really like. So, oh, let's see, Enzo is spamming the chat. So, JavaScript land exception APIs are better than PHP unit assertions ones, in my opinions. I like Pest's exception API implementation as well. Laravel has this assertion. Not sure if the module is usable outside of Laravel app. Interesting. I know it's definitely not in PHP unit. Pest exception. And so the good thing about Pest is that because it's already functional, you don't have to like do these things up front, right? And so I really like Pest's functional approach. What I don't like about Pest is that it's outside the context of a class. So you like stuff like before and after hooks and stuff like dependency injection on the class level. These are things I'm missing. There are other ways around this with Pest as well, of course. There's like I said, I'm not solving any real issues here. It's just scratching an itch, basically. So yeah. What will you do for mocks? I will go down a rabbit hole and a rant about mocks. Do not use mocks. This I have very strong opinions on. So as far as I know, PHP unit doesn't come with built-in mocks because you need mockery, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it does include, actually, PHP unit GitHub. It probably includes mockery, right? Mocks are such a bad way of testing. It even has a mock object. I didn't know that. Avoid mocks. Why do you not need mocks? The problem with mocks is that you are, it comes with mocks and stuff. You are re-implementing like stuff on the fly that you cannot reuse anywhere else. It's the worst way of doing it. So what I do is, and I've been doing this for years, and it always worked perfectly. It does, however, require you to program to an interface, which is a good thing, right? Let's see, tests. Let's say I want to mock well, maybe this isn't like a good example. Enzo, can you remind me, where do we have like a good mock? Test. We always... The thing is, if you properly program to an interface, you also have a lot less need for mocks. I think there's one place where we mock some HTTP thing, an external HTTP request, and that's something that's on the to-do. No, we don't have mocks, but we do have these test classes, Enzo, where we, but I can't think of a good example now. Anyway, you provide an interface, you program to an interface, and you just switch those interfaces around when you need them. You have a dummy implementation for that same interface that you can inject wherever you want. That's basically the idea. So, yeah. Which is maybe what Enzo is calling the fake pattern. I'm not sure. If we do use mocks, I'm not aware of them. I think there's one place here. Enzo called it mock process result, but it's not using mock. But I think, yeah, over here. And there was this issue in the icon test. This is where we actually create a mock, and this is the PHP unit 1. Yeah, this is where we create a mock. We don't need this. So our HTTP client is an interface, right? We could just make some kind of testing HTTP client. We might already have it. If I'm not mistaken, let's see. I think I closed that issue. It's like a super old issue. Mock. Yeah, was it this one? I'm not sure. I think there was an issue for this one in particular as well. Yeah. Oh. So mocks and stubs can be useful when you need to test with an external library that does not supply simple implementations of services that you can use in tests, or doesn't even use interfaces. No, yeah, absolutely. And so what I would recommend you doing in that case on a project level, right? Because we're here on the framework level, we're doing everything ourselves basically, except for the very small edge cases. But we don't run into that problem very often. We don't need to test like external stuff. If you run into this problem at a project level, what I used to do always is to have some kind of very simple, and this is the facade pattern, but it's not what Laravel calls facades, but to have a simple class in between that you own, right? And so everything within your code uses that class, and then there is a single point where your internal project calls are going outside to that third-party place. And it gives you one place where you do some testing, maybe with mocks. I don't think I often tested the mocks themselves, because then I'm testing third-party code and I assume that just works, right? I want to test the things I'm integrating with. And so for that gateway, I often call it gateways because this was with APIs. I had an interface for that, and I had a mock test, fake implementation, whatever you want to call it, and then a real implementation. And so whenever I needed to fake or test or mock this functionality, I could block it off on my side and know that nothing from third-party code would be touched. And this also made it easier to, like, for upgrades and stuff like that. Doesn't often happen, but when you need to switch that third-party package because of reasons, it might be incompatible, there might be an issue, there might be a newer version that's better. You had one place where you could make that switch. So yeah. That is exactly what I usually do, but you would need to test that wrapper code with a mock probably. So yeah, and that's what I didn't do, because I assumed, well, you, no. Yeah, you want to test whether your side of the code is actually calling the right method. Yes, and this is where you could use mocks. True. Yeah. No, I'm not disagreeing with that. Yeah. But how you're testing when the dependencies have side effects, but this is something I don't test. This is something I assume that the third-party thing is testing for me. And if they don't, then maybe I need to reconsider using another third-party implementation. Because when we're talking about real projects, of course, this is something I depend on. This is a piece of code I trust. I want it to be properly tested. So, but yeah, actually I agree that this is a place where you don't control the code, where mocks might be a necessary evil, basically. Yeah. So yeah, we'll add mocks. You've convinced me. But not as a high priority feature. So, folks, that was my huge brain dump. I did have something else on my to-do, actually. I think. Oh, no, that was it. That was my huge brain dump. And we'll see, we'll discuss further on Discord. By the way, Discord, if you don't know, feel free to join if you haven't already. This is the Tempest Discord. It's tempestphp.com/Discord, and you'll end up there. If you just want to connect with a lot of like-minded developers who are working on Tempest or using Tempest or are just passionate about PHP, that's also possible. Everyone's welcome. So yeah, I think that's about all I wanted to say. Some good feedback here. Now I need to add mocks. That's unfortunate. But you're right. Thank you all for joining, folks. I'll try. Well, it's December, so I actually want to try to do some more regular streaming again before the holidays are coming. The good thing is I have 2 more weeks and then my vacation starts. So maybe I can fit in a couple more live streams before that. That would be nice. It's always good hanging out with folks, and this helps me along as well. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and then I think we'll see each other in the next one. Okay, bye bye.